Hi, my name is Rebecca Littler and we are Group 14. We will be talking about health in Bridgeton. Upon discussing health in Bridgeton, we will be covering three main topics. Fiona will be covering general health in Bridgeton, looking at the demographics that have a direct and indirect impact on the general health of the population, mainly the age of the population, ethnic background, and housing. Next, George will give us some insight on life expectancy compared to Glasgow and why this could be. Lastly, Catherine will be presenting some points on health in Glasgow and what this means for Bridgeton, along with some final points on Bridgeton and Carlton.
In this slide we're going to be talking about the overall health in Bridgeton. As you can see from the top left of this slide, the population that is most prominent in Bridgeton is from the ages of 16 to 44. This could be because of the type of housing offered. Most of the housing is shared flats and this might not be suitable for the elderly as little of them offer an alternative to stairs in order to gain access. 51% of all households are single parent households with dependent children, and overcrowding accounts for 25% of households in this area. This could be one of the reasons that the health in Bridgeton is so low, and overcrowding conditions have been linked to slow growth in childhood, which is associated with an increased risk of coronary heart disease in later life. There is a higher than average claim of unemployment and disability benefits. The unemployed tend to have higher levels of impaired mental health, including depression, anxiety and stress, as well as higher levels of chronic disease. Child poverty is much higher in Bridgeton than the average in Glasgow. This can lead to malnutrition and overall poor general health. Looking at the middle of our slide, we can see that a girl born in Glasgow between 2015 and 2017 was estimated to live until 78.7 years and a male 73.3. However, this is significantly less than that of Scotland's average. This could be due to a lack of health improvement and many health inequalities. Bridgeton is not a rich area, however in some areas further back in the subway line, men can live a full 15 years longer than here.
Despite the increases in life expectancy over the past 20 years, Glasgow still remains lower than other cities in Scotland, with a life expectancy of 72.6 years for men and 78.4 years for women. Compare this to 77.5 years for men and 81.8 years for women in Edinburgh. Within the neighbourhoods of Glasgow, these figures decrease even further. Carlton and Bridgetown reducing their life expectancy for men to 67.8 years and 76.6 years for women, making this the fourth lowest life expectancy neighbourhood in Glasgow for men and the 15th lowest for women.
Child, right? I look at my own dad. He's recently turned 70, right, which is impressive in the west of Scotland, right? Exactly. That's good shooting in Glasgow. 70. You need to give the card shop a bit of notice in parts of this city. If you're looking, you need to let them know well in advance if you're looking for a 70th birthday card. A 70th? I can do your 40th and a 30th, mate. Is that any good?
People described as living with a little or a lot of disability account for 23.9% of Carlton and Bridgeton's population, the 26th highest percentage of all Glasgow neighbourhoods, of which there are 56 counted. Compare this to the lowest percentage of just 11.8, just under that, half of that of Carlton and Bridgetown's.
Although the health in Glasgow as a whole is better than Bridgeton alone, it still has one of the poorest health profiles of any Scottish or UK city. A huge problem in health in Glasgow comes down to the lifestyle people in the city choose to live. For example, a lifestyle of smoking, excessive drinking, drugs and bad diet. Although it is noted that these lifestyle choices can be influenced by wider life circumstances, including deprivation, physical environment, mental health and well-being, and early life experiences. Despite numbers having decreased over the last few decades, 27% of adults over 16 were recorded as regular smokers in 2012 in Glasgow, which is around 4 percentage points higher than for Scotland as a whole and 10 percentage points higher than in Edinburgh. Over the last few decades, trends in alcohol-related deaths across Scotland have reached high levels, with Glasgow having the most overall. In 2007, the number of male alcohol-related deaths peaked at just over 90 deaths per 100,000 people in Glasgow. Roughly around the same time, between 2003 and 2007, the number of female alcohol-related deaths in Glasgow sat at just over 30 per 100,000 people. This doesn't seem that bad at first glance, but when comparing it to other cities in Scotland, these numbers are much higher. In the same year, the number of male alcohol-related deaths per 100,000 people sat at just under 50 in Dundee, just over 40 in Edinburgh, and just over 30 in Aberdeen. For females, the numbers were 25 in Dundee, 15 in Edinburgh, and just over 10 in Aberdeen. Since then, the numbers across Scotland have decreased, but Glasgow's numbers remain the highest. Drug-related deaths in Glasgow have fluctuated since 2001, but in general the rate is increasing. In 2016, the number of drug-related deaths in Glasgow climbed to roughly 170, with Edinburgh sitting at just 90, Aberdeen at just over 40, and Dundee just under 40. Currently, drug-related deaths in Glasgow are double the national Scottish average. Over the last decade, obesity rates in Scotland and Greater Glasgow have increased, with over a quarter of adults being obese and approximately 2/3 overweight. On a lighter note, children and young people in Glasgow are continuously improving in health. Smoking during pregnancy is decreasing and breastfeeding is becoming more popular, but sadly this is not the case for all areas of Glasgow, with more deprived areas like Bridgeton not benefiting from these improvements. So a lot of the health concerns in Glasgow are down to lifestyle choices, and these choices can be influenced by a number of factors including deprivation and physical environment, which when looking back to the health in Bridgeton could be a reason why Glasgow's overall health is so poor, considering they're one of Glasgow's most deprived areas and make up 17,725 of the 633,120 Glasgow population.